Do you have a brilliant startup idea but are stuck in the launching phase? Are you feeling overwhelmed by funding, marketing, or just where to start? Don't let your startup idea stay grounded. Visit our website at eapla.com to schedule a Blue Couch meeting and launch your startup journey today.
Welcome back to On The Cusp. Got my co-host Matt Snyder with me.
Yeah.
Back again. And who's our guest today,
We got Gabriel Balderas from El Cabo Verde and Zuzul. I've known Gabe for a long time. I'm excited to have you on here today.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Gabe and
thank you, guys. Thank you,
Gabe
Dave.
and I, we serve on the Shreveport Chamber of Commerce board together. So we see each other on a pretty regular basis.
Yes, and so what you've done, especially with your restaurants here, has been incredible. I mean, I remember when Jason Brady opened Wine Country, and it was new, and people were like, wow, he's taking a real chance. I've not felt that way about many restaurants through the years, but El Cabo was definitely that. We're entering an era of something new in Shreveport, and I mean, it's always, are the people gonna get it? Is it gonna work? And it's been beautiful. Can you talk about just taking that risk and what that was like?
Sure. Well, thank you again, guys. Thank you for having me. Talking about El Cabo, I feel like for us was a lot of, it was very challenging because, we were looking for a while for a location, and, we go into town, we will look at places. We went to even Bossier. We considered Bossier, and then for some reason we end up in South Shreveport.
Right.
And I happened to run into the Lowrys. She was the one that told me, Gabriel, there's a space here. There's a space at Providence that's available. Would you like to look at it? We went to look at the space. We were told by multiple people, you're not going to make it.
Right.
It's not there yet. We don't have the traffic. We don't have the volume. So we went out there and I sat there, looking how many cars will drive back and forth, on Southern Loop.
Right.
To kind of get an idea of what the traffic flow will be like and how many potential customers we could have, And at first it was challenging.
What year was that? What year did El Cabo open?
Actually, we were looking at the space the end of 2015.
Okay.
We opened 2016.
Okay. Wow.
2016, so it's been 9 years.
Dude, those were some good years. 2014, 13 to 2018. A lot of things happened in Shreveport, cultural things. Your restaurant being a big one. I remember the kind of Key Mexico guys coming up, Rhino in that time, Great Raft in that time. My events were kind of starting to have it. There was a lot of people shaking the bushes in Shreveport at that time. But Southern Loop has a lot more people living there now than it did then, for sure.
More. And of course, for us, it was hard at the beginning, but as the time went on, I'll tell you a story. We have customers that will come in, and even with the food, we source our own corn and our beans, and the corns are different color. And even back then, we will grind blue corn.
Right, I remember those so good.
And people will be like, I ordered tamales, but they don't look the same today. This is not what I ordered. They'll send their food back. So today, we're fortunate enough, people, today the corn may be blue, tomorrow may be yellow or kind of pinkish, It depends on the type of corn we're grinding that day.
Right.
But back then, people would be like, no, it doesn't taste the same. It doesn't taste the same. But today, people embrace that. People love that change.
I think so.
So if you come in and you get a blue corn tortilla and a taco on a blue corn tortilla today, they're perfectly fine. They're like, oh, thank you, or a yellow or white. So they're embracing that change today. Back when we were open, it was a little more challenging.
Right.
Well, I think today a lot of people are looking for that. They're looking for that, something to differentiate, your food, because that's a key component of what Matt and I talk about on almost every podcast. If I'm recruiting someone into Shreveport to come in here, consider Shreveport, I gotta take them to some place that shows them some culture, some difference, because if I just take them to a chain restaurant or something like that, that's not going to work. We got to have guys like you.
Yeah, and Gabe, you have been very active in the food scene and what Shreveport's food scene is going to look like from a farming standpoint and whatnot. Talk about, that's a different thing that's taking responsibility of the whole kind of picture. You don't have to do that. Why do you take the effort to do that, and why is that important to you?
Well, that's very important to us. I feel like in this area, when I first moved to Shreveport, we didn't have that many choices.
Right.
We didn't have that many choices of food. For me, being in the food business was, a must. We got to have fresher ingredients. We got to have, good quality food. We got to have a little bit of diversity. And when we talk about ingredients, I feel like that is something that, in my mind, I think about, it only takes one person to start something.
Right.
And then the other ones will follow.
Right.
And so that to me is important. We have our own farm today, and we raise our chickens, we have laying hens, we have vegetables, and we supply both of our restaurants with that. And to me, once we prove that we can do it, I think more people will follow. And that's very important for us. I think that this market could use maybe 10 different guys doing what we do, 10 different people.
Right, for sure.
More people are more conscious about where the ingredients come from than ever before.
Yeah.
Heck, they just banned, what was it, red dye, number whatever, okay? And that's only the beginning. I think you're going to see a lot more. So that's important for us to have that in Shreveport to where you can say, oh, that's locally sourced. He grows it. It's straight, literally from the farm to the table type of operation. That's big in a lot of places, and having that here is, I think, a significant advantage.
And you can tell that the crowd that gets that, it's a certain crowd. I work out there a lot. I eat in your restaurants. I love your restaurants. It's a certain crowd that is health conscious, that's caring about what they're eating, and that's so important that those people have high quality restaurants in Shreveport. I love talking to other entrepreneurs that fight the fight and take the risk and are in this thing. And one of the things I always think about when I think of you is that your family is so involved in what you're doing. This is not a one-man show. Your wife, Brooke, is so impressive. Your kids have waited on me. I've watched your kids grow up. I think our kids were in school together from like 2 or 3. Why is that important?
For us, it's important. I feel like it has to be, not just that we're parents, but also it's important to involve the family, because at the end of the day, your children can see what it's like.
Right.
What it's like to be involved in the family business, but also it's important for their upbringing. To understand what it takes to do what mom and dad do every day.
That's right.
You also travel with your kids extensively.
Yes.
And it's very impressive, and it's very cool. And I always think about that, like, for someone as well-traveled as you still choose to do business in Shreveport.
Sure.
Why is that?
Shreveport has everything that a big city has to offer. And obviously minus the traffic. So we talk about here.
Yeah, there is no traffic here.
There's no traffic. You can go 25 miles, and you can go from here to Benton Road, or from here 25 miles out or 25 miles south, and in a short amount of time.
That's
right.
And so convenience, to me, it's a great, I'm able to do more things. I'm able to get most of my things done in one day.
If your 2 restaurants were the same distance in Dallas or Austin, it would take you 45 minutes a lot of time to get to them.
On a good day.
I was in Austin like a week ago, and I was like, looked at the map, I was like, oh, that's 3 miles away. I was in my car for 45 minutes.
I mean, I mean, people don't realize the amount of time you spend in the car, the amount of time that you're commuting. When you put that into, I'd much rather be reading a book or doing something at the restaurant than sitting in the car driving.
Right.
I want to maximize my time. I'd rather spend that time with my children.
Yep.
Rather than sitting in the car behind the wheel. So it's important. I think Shreveport has everything to offer.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, I think Shreveport is the smallest big city you're ever going to live in, because you're maybe one or two connections away from somebody else, okay,
Sure.
that you know, and you don't even realize it.
Yeah.
When I look at a Shreveport restaurant, and I'm a culture guy, I want Shreveport to stand up to everywhere. That's what my effort's been. That's why I'm friends and cheerleaders for all you guys. When I'm sitting in a restaurant in Shreveport, I always ask myself, if you picked this up and stuck it in blank city, Miami, Dallas, New York, would it make it? Would it fit in? Would it look to the level? And man, your restaurants could go anywhere. Zuzul would win the block in any city in America.
Oh, thank you,
El
man.
Cabo too, but that is so important to me.
Sure.
That if I have somebody coming to Shreveport or Dave has somebody, they're like, yeah, this feels like a prosperous city in America.
Well, and that's I think for us the whole idea of the restaurant is to be able to, make sure that all our customers, our guests feel welcome, and I think that's important. That shows, what a city is like.
Yep.
If
Right.
you go to a place and they take care of you, they make you feel like home, and they take the time and the effort to.
Yes. At least half the times I'm in your restaurant, you or Brooke comes and sit with us and visit, and we catch up. And that's another thing you don't get in a bigger city. I do not think you have the relationships in a Dallas that you have in a Shreveport, where Gabe knows everybody in his restaurants and are friends and knows my kids. And, I think that's special about Shreveport.
I think it is, and that's what I think that's what community is about.
Right.
You take care of your patrons, your guests, your customers, and you make them feel welcome and take that extra care,
The food scene used to be in Shreveport, I think even 10, 15 years ago, there were a few restaurants really killing it. And those were the restaurants I would kind of frequent, and I was like, I could kind of hit them all. And I'm can't hit all the restaurants I want to hit in Shreveport on a regular. I'm like, man, I haven't been to Zuzul in too long. Wait a minute, I haven't been to Fat Gavin too long. There are a lot of good restaurateurs and restaurant people in Shreveport right now.
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
I think we really have a bigger food scene than a lot of people realize.
It's way under
I think
appreciated nationally,
absolutely,
for sure.
Absolutely. And we have our own kind of very diverse culture of restaurants here. All right. It's very, very, very different. And a lot of people don't realize that what we actually have. Because if you go to New Orleans, it's all just one Cajun place right after the other.
I think she went to Zuzul. There was this writer from New Orleans in town a few weeks ago. Her name's Liz. I'm blanking a little bit. She's written nationally, and she was in Shreveport. And she was here for 3 days, and all she did was go to different spots and write about them. And she went to Zuzul, and she was blown away. She was like, you would never run out of restaurants. Like, if you had someone out of town come for a week, you could take them to great
Absolutely.
restaurants every meal of the day, and they would think we
You'd
were
never
as good
go
as
to
New
the same
Orleans.
one twice
Right.
for a week,
Gabe,
easily.
Didn't you have somebody in town from out of town recently?
We have some guys that we have some tequila maker.
Yeah.
Yeah, he came here. It's a good friend of mine. He's promoting his product, so
That's
Yeah.
really cool.
it was fun. It was fun to have him because he was like, man, I didn't know. He actually moved to Houston, and I told him, I said, you got to make the trip over, cross the border, the state line, come to Louisiana. And he came and he was like, man, I really liked it. I really liked Shreveport. So we, took him to a few places. He went around, visited some restaurant tours.
That's really awesome because you said I think we, the people of Caddo Bossier are too critical about, ourselves. We're the first one to, sell ourselves short. And here you are out there bringing people in, a guy trying to get in the tequila business, okay, bringing him here and selling Shreveport. I think that is key. I think that's something that we have to do, and we got to be good at it.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go a little real for a minute because, like, on this show, we're not just here to sugarcoat everything, and I'm gonna say it, all right? You bring somebody from out of town and you put them with Gabe or me, and we take them to our world and do our tour of Shreveport, they're ready to move tomorrow. The people that are in charge of showcasing our area have got to get better. They've got to get better. I mean, would you agree with that, Gabe?
Yes, 100%.
The things they're showing would have been awesome in 1985. Would have been a great tour. We got to get better of what's really happening in the world, what's really happening in the cities that are prospering, that we have. And we got to show those things off.
Well,
How do we encourage that, Gabe? How do we encourage the leadership to really see what's happening?
I think that we have to allow people to have key positions, people that actually have the experience and know our city well, and they have the diverse background and understand what it takes to start a business, what it takes to build connections, build relationships. I think it's important for us to have those people in key places.
Those people need to be in key places. We have to have, if you're in a role of promoting our area, you need to be out in our restaurant scene 3 to 5 nights a week. You need to be at events 5 to 10 times a month. You need to be in the scene. And I think that's why you and our businesses put us in the scene, so we have a pretty good temperature of what's going on.
Gabriel is a really big voice at the chamber and other organizations for everybody in the food industry and for Shreveport. I've been there, I've seen him do it, and I think if we have more people talking about positive things, then we're just going to continue to build the momentum, because we say all the time, we really feel we're on the cusp. We in Shreveport, Bossier, Northwest Louisiana, we're right on the cusp of some really great things. It can't get, the opportunity is there for anybody that wants to work hard.
I love the restaurant guys, because the restaurant guys all took big risk.
Everyone.
And they're used to taking risk, and they're used to stuff
They're comfortable with
going poor and fixing it and putting out the fire and getting better. It's my favorite kind of entrepreneur, the one that knows how to get in the weeds. It's a rare thing. So I'm so thankful, Gabe, because most of those guys, or a lot that we've known through the years, don't go get involved. They run their very successful restaurant. They stay in their corner. They count their money.
You got to be bigger than that.
You got to make the city better. And you and I have always, I think we bonded over that probably the first time we ever talked. That's what Gabe has been a chef at Catahoula Wine Mixer from the very first one. Every year along the way, it has been a huge part of the things we've done. Your Cinco de Mayo festival. Talk about that a little. I think that is one of the coolest things that happens in Shreveport every year.
Yeah, we every Cinco de Mayo we do we put on an event in South Shreveport. And,
it's not just an event. It feels like a cultural taking over.
We do it. We like to involve. This past year, actually, we brought in somebody from Mexico City that did the person had a PhD in a folkloric dance, and so it was nice to bring somebody that actually has, the woman that grew up in the 5 generations involved in dance, folkloric dance in Mexico. So it was really nice, The whole team came out there and danced for like an hour and 35 minutes. So it was pretty cool to have them.
It really is magical, because it's another cultural thing that Shreveport is missing. Is really showcasing different cultures. And we've been lucky to do some of that on the show recently. And it's so important. What Cinco de Mayo celebrations were in Shreveport, Louisiana before Gabe was not the same as after Gabe.
Well, it's important, for us and for myself also to show our culture and the community. Think about it. Most people that we deal with, everyone in here in the day in and day out, they all travel to Mexico.
Right.
Yep.
Travel to Mexico, go to, they have a vacation home.
Right when this ends, I'm about to ask you some tips because I'm about to go.
So, we like to do that. We like to showcase our culture and kind of talk about it. It's important to also not to lose that,
The mariachi band that Gabe brings to Cinco de Mayo, you've probably seen some mariachi bands around. This is a different level. This is like the real deal.
The guys are fun, really fun. They're out of Dallas, Texas. So.
They're phenomenal. That is not what I expected when I thought a mariachi band in Shreveport. So,
well, Gabe, thanks. We appreciate it, and we love what you're doing, man.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy the podcast? We would love your feedback about today's show and who you think should be our next guest. Send us an email at info@eapla.com. Also, be sure to share the show and leave a comment on our social media post.